My name is Margaret Wilson. I am 48 years old, and I have been a high school teacher for most of my life. One afternoon, after class, a young man came back to see me. He stood at the door, smiling, and said, "Teacher Wilson, you changed my life." I smiled back, and I felt proud in that moment. This was not the first time. Many of my former students visit me every year. They tell me I helped them succeed. They say I made them better people. People often think I live a successful life. But inside my own home, something went wrong. My son slowly grew distant from me. And the truth is, I feel like a failure. Thousands of students say I changed their lives, but I could never teach my own son. So what happened inside my family? I lived in a family that many people admired. My husband, Edward, was a university professor. He spent his days with research, lectures, and brilliant students. I was a teacher who believed in discipline and academic success. Our house was always full of books, papers, and quiet study. We had one simple rule for our children: work hard, study hard, and success will follow. I truly believed education could fix any problem in life. I told myself this again and again. Our son, Lucas, was different from us. He was not a top student. He loved sports, movement, and competition. He wanted to follow his dream. But Edward often said, "Sports cannot build a stable future." After that, Lucas usually went quiet. Our daughter, Chloe, had a different personality. She loved talking to people. She enjoyed sharing her life online. She wanted to be seen and heard. But at home, we often talked about grades, not feelings. At dinner, Edward spoke about his best university students. I shared stories about my top pupils. Lucas sat there in silence. Night after night, those conversations built pressure around him. He tried to live up to expectations, but something inside him slowly changed. Lucas began to feel under pressure. Chloe started to seek validation online. Our dinners became shorter and quieter. Sometimes I felt something was missing, but I ignored it. At that time, I still believed everything was under control, but without noticing, my children were already growing distant from me. The pressure on Lucas did not come from one moment. It grew slowly, day by day. At dinner, he listened to stories about top students, academic awards, and research success. He sat there quietly, saying very little. Then one day, everything became clear. Lucas failed an important exam. Edward looked at the paper and spoke in a firm voice. "You must work harder." I agreed with him. I thought discipline would help. Lucas said nothing. He just nodded and looked down. Something in his eyes changed. He withdrew from us. It was as if he started to grow distant. Inside, he felt like he would never be good enough. Later that night, I saw him outside. He was running alone on a dark field. He ran again and again, faster each time. I stood by the window, watching in silence. My chest felt tight. He looked so small, yet so determined. Still, I told myself he just needed time. A few days later, Lucas came home early. He sat across from me at the table. His voice was calm, but careful. "Mom, can I try out for the regional team?" I paused. For a moment, I saw hope in his eyes. Maybe this was a chance to reach out to him. Maybe I could support his dream. Before I could answer, Edward walked into the room. He heard everything. "No," he said. "Focus on university." Lucas looked down again. "But I just want one chance," he replied softly. Edward shook his head. "Sports cannot give you a future." The room went quiet. Lucas stood up, pushed his chair back, and left. The door closed hard behind him. After that, he began to shut us out. He stopped talking. He stopped trying to explain himself. Weeks passed. Life became routine. I graded papers every night. Lucas trained alone outside. Chloe spent hours on her phone, scrolling and recording videos. One evening, I saw her speaking to the camera, smiling brightly. Then she stopped recording halfway. The smile slowly disappeared. When I asked her to stop, she frowned. "You only care about grades," she said. Then she added, "What is the point of studying so much if no one sees me?" I had no answer. That night at dinner, no one spoke much. I looked at my family and noticed the silence. For a brief moment, something felt wrong, but I pushed the thought away. I told myself everything would be fine. One afternoon, I entered Lucas's room. It was quiet. On his desk, I found a notebook. Inside, there were training plans, race times, and goals. I turned one page and found something unexpected. An old essay. I did not understand it at first, and in that moment, I felt something shift. I sat on the edge of Lucas's bed and held the paper in my hands. The title was simple, My Hero. A small smile appeared on my face. I thought I knew what it would say. I expected kind words. I expected pride. At first, it was exactly that. He wrote about me helping students. He wrote that I made people strong. Line after line. I saw the teacher I believed I was. Then I reached the last sentence. Sometimes I wish she could help me too. I stopped. My eyes stayed on that line. At first, I did not understand why that line felt so heavy. I read it again, slowly. My hands began to shake slightly. Something inside me felt different. These were not just words anymore. A memory started to come back. I could still hear his voice from years ago. "Mom, you are the teacher of the whole world." But not my mom. At that time, I laughed. I thought he was joking. Now, I understood I had missed the point. My mind returned to a night I had forgotten. He was only 12. I stayed late at school to help a student who was struggling. When I came home, the house was quiet. Lucas was sitting at the table, holding a small certificate. He waited for hours. The lights were still on. He looked at the door again and again. He wanted to show me something, but I was too late. The lights were off. He had fallen asleep on the table. A heavy weight filled my chest. That night was not small. That was the moment he stopped reaching out to me. The essay was his quiet answer. I sat there in silence. My fingers tightened around the paper. How long had my son felt this way? That night, I did not go to bed. I sat in the living room and waited for Lucas. The house was quiet. Every small sound made my heart beat faster. When the door finally opened, I stood up slowly. "Lucas, can we talk?" My voice was not steady. He stopped near the door. For a moment, he did not move. Then he nodded, but his eyes stayed on the floor. "I read your essay," I said. My hands were cold. He looked up, surprised. "You kept that?" I nodded. The words came out slowly. I think I missed the point." He said nothing. The silence between us felt heavy. I took a deep breath. My chest felt tight. "I tried to teach you how to succeed," I said, "but I forgot to walk in your shoes." Lucas stayed quiet. He listened, but he looked away before answering. That small movement hurt more than words. "I was too hard on you," I continued. "I thought I wanted the best for you. I thought if you worked harder, everything would be fine." My voice began to break. "But I never asked what you wanted. I never tried to understand your dream." Tears fell before I could stop them. I covered my face for a moment. The room felt very still. Lucas did not leave. He stood there, silent. For the first time in years, he did not walk away. I did not notice Edward at first. He was standing in the hallway, just outside the room. He had heard everything. He saw my tears. He saw Lucas standing there, quiet and distant. For a long moment, no one spoke. The air felt heavy. Edward stepped forward slightly, as if he wanted to say something. His lips moved, but no words came out. Then he stopped. He looked at us, and I could see something change in his eyes. He realized he had no answer. For the first time, he doubted himself. Edward had always believed in one thing: discipline, hard work, academic success. He thought that was the only way to build a safe future. But now, that belief did not feel as strong. He spoke slowly, almost to himself. I thought success meant security. Lucas did not raise his voice. He did not argue. He simply said, "Maybe success means being understood." The words stayed in the room. No one moved. Edward lowered his head. His shoulders dropped slightly. The confident professor was gone in that moment. In his place was a father who did not know what to say. Something inside him began to break. Not loudly, not suddenly, just a quiet shift. And in that silence, the truth became clear. The next morning, the house felt different. It was still quiet, but not as heavy as before. I stood in the hallway and watched Edward walk toward Lucas's room. His steps were slow, not confident like usual. He stopped at the door and knocked softly. Lucas opened it after a few seconds. He did not say anything. He just stood there, waiting. Edward cleared his throat. "Can we talk?" Lucas stepped aside, but he did not invite him in with words. Edward looked around the room, then back at his son. For a moment, he seemed unsure where to begin. Then he spoke. "I wanted you to succeed," he said. His voice was lower than usual. "But I forgot to ask what success means to you." Lucas stayed quiet. His face did not change much, but he did not turn away. He listened. Still, there was distance in his eyes. The wall between them was not gone yet. Edward took a small breath. "I may have been wrong," he added. The words felt heavy in the air. Lucas did not answer immediately, but he also did not close the door. He stayed there, holding it open, and somehow, that small action meant something. The wall between them did not disappear, but for the first time, it began to crack. 6 months passed, and life slowly began to change. Not all at once, but in small, quiet ways. Lucas started training with a regional sports team. He also studied part-time. It was not easy, but he did not give up on his dream. Chloe still used social media, but something shifted in her as well. She began to study communication and media. She talked more about her ideas, not just her posts. I started to understand her better. We still don't always agree, but we talk more now. Edward changed too. Sometimes, he went to watch Lucas train. He stood by the field, silent, but present. That alone meant a lot. As for me, I was still a teacher. Students still came to me for help, but I listened more than I spoke. I tried to walk in their shoes before giving advice. At home, dinner felt different. Conversations were not perfect, but they were honest. We asked questions. We tried to understand each other. One afternoon, I stood by the field and watched Lucas train. He ran with focus and strength. I stayed there, quietly. I did not check my watch. I did not leave early. This time, I chose him. And for the first time in a long while, the distance between us felt smaller. I spent many years teaching students how to succeed. I helped them pass exams, reach their goals, and build their future. But I slowly learned something important. Success outside the home does not always mean happiness inside. A teacher can guide many students, but family needs something different. Family needs patience. Family needs someone who can truly listen. Sometimes, love sounds like pressure. Sometimes, silence can build a wall between people. And when that wall grows too strong, people begin to feel lost and alone. I learned this the hard way. I had to see things differently. I had to open my heart and try to understand. Because in the end, everyone has their own path. In many families today, expectations can quietly turn into pressure. You may want the best for someone, but that does not always mean you understand them. Real connection begins with simple actions. You can ask questions before giving advice. You can listen without judging too quickly. Sometimes, people grow distant not because they are wrong, but because they feel unheard. When you take time to walk in their shoes, you start to see things differently. Not every path looks the same, and that is okay. You do not need to control every choice. You can support different dreams, even when they are not your own. This is Peak. We believe stories teach more than language. They help you understand people. Stay Peak. What do you think about Margaret's story? If you were in her place, what would you do to reconnect with your children? Do you think she did the right thing by changing her way of teaching and learning to listen? Or was it too little, too late? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched you, please like the video and subscribe to Peak English Stories. See you in the next story.